We apologize for this brief interruption in the show. As many of you likely know, the Higher Standard podcast is officially sponsored by TRANSCEND Company. TRANSCEND has been my longtime provider for both testosterone and peptide therapies, but they offer so much more. Whether you're interested in health, wellness, or longevity, it all begins with you getting your blood work done. A lab draw will help you get the numbers and establish your baseline. You can go to transcendcompany.com/THSP. That's transcendcompany.com/THSP. Or you can click the link in the show notes on any streaming platform and on YouTube. Fill out your information, and one of the representatives will contact you to get your journey started today. Now back to the show.
Yeah, because that black is like an off black. I'm like, it's nice. Stays in.
No, it does stay in.
Does stay in.
What?
Unlike your glute activation.
Listen, okay, my glutes are slightly underdeveloped.
Slightly?
Yeah, it's a personal topic of sensitivity for me.
Chris got approached today.
I did at the gym by another man who said that I had underdeveloped glutes.
And stay tuned to the pop culture segment of this show.
Yeah, he's not wrong though.
He's not wrong.
I get it, brother.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Today we got a great episode for everyone. We're going to go over some shocking financial statistics.
That was good.
That was good?
I
You felt
want that.
it? You
Yeah,
like that?
That was good.
Of the average U.S. American.
Haroon, you like that better?
Yes.
Yeah,
not
that was
scripted.
that was nice.
It was nice?
Yeah, nice.
Noise. I say that around the house a lot. Now I got Adam and Arya running around. Noise. Just constantly.
It's obnoxious when you do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So we're going to get into some of these financial statistics that will shock you, and hopefully you aren't in any of these situations. But if you are, we're going to lend a little bit of advice to help you get out of them.
Mm. So when you first mentioned this, I didn't want to know the statistics because I wanted to react in real time.
Mm.
And then I read the list inadvertently because I was, being nosy.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, it's sad how many Americans are living in these situations, and it's not their fault. It's not because they're not working hard. It's not because they aren't trying. It's just because goddamn life has gotten so expensive.
It's gotten really expensive, but it's also a little bit of them putting off some things that they should be focusing on because
Maybe not, man.
Yeah.
It's expensive to live right now, and if you're in a situation where you can't afford your lifestyle, it's really hard to look at your lifestyle and go, okay, wait a minute, I could afford this 3 years ago,
right.
and now I can't, and adjust. Oh, wow, we haven't had a can pop from you, Haroon, in a while.
Yeah, I've been sipping before we start.
Sipping on the scissor.
Wow.
You didn't know he had that in his arsenal. Sipping?
No, I didn't think that was in his lexicon. But if I got a THC beverage,
To sponsor the show?
no,
Okay.
just to drink,
Yeah.
right, during the show, and we just saw where it went, would the two of you be interested in said activity?
I've never had one. I'm on board.
No, really?
Yeah, I'll do it. I mean, I don't know. How concentrated is it?
Probably 5 milligrams. Not enough to get you like high.
What is
It's
that?
like
What
It's
does
like
that
a
mean?
microdose. It's like
What
a
is it?
gummy.
Oh, okay. I mean, I've never taken either, but I'll trust you.
I want to know how loose you're gonna get.
Oh,
Real loose.
What was that, Haroon? I couldn't hear you.
yeah.
Real loose.
All right, so let's get into this first one. First one are the high debt levels across the nation. The average American household carries credit card debt around $6,270. Mind you, that's carrying over month to month. We're not saying that, you are racking up points throughout the month and then you're paying it off. These people are literally carrying this balance over month, which only continues to grow, right, as interest continues to hit it.
And in most circumstances, credit cards are averaging over 20% interest. So that can become a much higher number very quickly. And that's really where credit card debt is the most damaging. It's not that you have a balance of $5,000 or $10,000. It's that balance winds up costing you a whole hell of a lot of money, eating into your free cash flow. It becomes increasingly more difficult to pay down the principal balance, and you just accrue massive interest. And it's like an anchor.
Right.
And most Americans aren't fortunate enough to have a windfall opportunity where they can just pay off the debt just in one fell swoop. So this anchor winds up slowly and painfully killing them over time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so the first thing you got to want to do, this is really boils down to, behavioral economics, right? And it comes down to everyone understands that if you're in this position, you really need to analyze and go over your budget. If you don't have a budget, you need to create a budget. And I know it's very difficult for some people because nobody really wants to make a reduction in their lifestyle during these times because sometimes the little wins that you give yourself just are the things that help you just get by, right? But it's something that you need to face, and I get it. It sucks making temporary reductions on whether that might be canceling or pausing your gym membership. I know these are small little things, right? But people that are racking up this credit card debt, they're literally leaning on credit cards just to get by. So if that means canceling your cable, look, we cancel cable at our house. I actually share a YouTube TV account with this guy, right? So just to minimize the cost. Like, why? Why
Do you
wouldn't we?
guys miss the news, like traditional news, like media outlets?
Do I miss it?
Yeah.
I mean, miss
Like,
as in like
you-
I
you
don't
don't-
receive it, or I like.
You can't turn on CNN or CNBC and just like
we
watch
can.
it.
No, we can't. We have it.
Is that on YouTube TV?
Yeah, it's all there.
Oh.
Yeah, and you can share it, and you can have like multiple accounts. I mean, that's one thing. Pausing your gym membership might be another thing. Look, and also most of my content that I consume is on YouTube itself. Forget YouTube TV. We only have YouTube TV at the house for sporting events. That's the only thing. Outside of that, it's everything I consume is on YouTube, right? So that's one place that you might want to consider. And then we actually did an episode that we'll make sure we plug in the show notes down below, where we go over, how to make a budget and, real basic, starting a launching board point, if you will, is the 50-30-20 rule. We're not in love with it because we understand that, today's lifestyle doesn't really afford you that possibility, but 50% is your needs, and then 30% are your wants, and 20% savings. I get that might seem like a lot, but look, it's a starting point that you should be aiming towards, right? And that's how you got to start somewhere.
Haroon just pulled this up. This is actually interesting. From CNBC Select, the top 10 states with the highest credit card balances.
Wow.
I would have never called this, but Alaska, number one at $8,026.
This was in May of 2024, so in
Oh, wow.
2 months, it's already gone up $100 the average.
That's
household.
relatively recent. That's crazy.
Wow.
New Jersey, 7,084. Connecticut, 7,082. District of Columbia, $7,077. Virginia, $6,969. Followed by Maryland, Texas, Hawaii, Georgia, and New York at $6,491. So they're all relatively close.
Right. Exactly. So the one thing that I will try to say is try your absolute best to not be one of those people that is forced to have to settle these debts. Okay? Right? Like that's going to cause rippling effects that'll just damage your credit score, right? I get it. In some situations it's a must, it's a need, but don't fall for these late night TV ads that are telling you only have to pay half your balances, come settle your debt, right?
Yeah, anytime you pay less than the full balance owed, it really has a dramatic impact to your credit score.
Right. And doing some research around this topic for this show tonight, I actually didn't really know this, but there are a lot of like nonprofit counseling agencies that if you communicate with them and you go through them, they will contact your lender for you. Now, you too should also be in contact with your lender to kind of give them, the heads up of where you're at.
Yeah.
And if you actually go through one of these nonprofit agencies and they contact your lenders, in some cases, they're able to negotiate your interest rate down from like 20-25% down to 6-7-8%. Now, it's
That's a tactic not too many people actually try. I had a guy call me the other day, and he said, "Hey, man, I've got a mortgage with you guys, and my balance is, pretty low. I don't want to refinance. What are my options?" And you'd be surprised how rare that question is.
Mhm.
Now, I don't know that Wells, Chase, B of A, the globally systematic important banks would lower your interest rate and just give up profits without you just refinancing. But there are circumstances where you could ask a credit card company, like, "Hey, what's my rate? Like, is there a lower option here? I'm getting buried." And you'd be surprised how receptive some companies actually are or amenable they are to trying to do something to help you out, so long as you're proactive versus reactive. If you're already late on payments and you're already behind and you're already in default, generally speaking, you're not going to get there. But if you see it coming, you may be able to work something out with your credit card company.
A lot of reports have been coming out recently from banks, and what we're seeing is missed payments and late payments are actually up in Q2 of this year when compared to that of Q1.
Yeah, big time.
Right. So that obviously is painting out a story in and of itself of what's going on in the nation, right? People are still spending is up, and GDP means we're growing, right? If spending is up, but people are missing payments and they're late on their payments. Like,
Yep.
what's going on exactly? And a lot of that, right, has to do with just people not making enough to get by, right?
Well, hence the high debt levels, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
how do you augment that shortfall of cash flow? You start spending on credit cards.
Yep.
And you say, okay, well, $100 here, $200 there, and it adds up, and it becomes a problem very, very quickly. I've always recommended people use charge cards, not credit cards. And there's a lot of people who think they're the same thing. They're not. A traditional charge card, you pay off the balance in full at the end of the month. Now, I do tell people to run all of your expenses through your charge card instead of using your ATM card, but then plan to pay off all those balances in full at the end of the month. So assume you're using your ATM account. Don't spend more than you have, and be prepared to pay that balance off at the end of the month. That's the best way to use a credit card, even though this is a charge card variant. A traditional credit card, you carry the balance over. It has a high interest rate. You're not paying it off in full at the end of the month. You can use it the same way you use a charge card, but you rack up a whole lot more interest and a lot more fees over time.
Right. But it does require a lot of discipline. So make sure you got your behaviors down.
Yeah, the traditional American Express card was a charge card, which is
Yes.
why I recommend to most people, once they get stable and balanced and they're in a good position, that's the credit card they should be using.
Right. Okay, so shocking financial statistic number 2, the low savings rate across the nation.
Mhm.
Nearly 40% of Americans would struggle to cover a $400 emergency fund. This is something that's been routinely talked about. I remember it being all over the campaign trail 4 years ago, right? So this is no shock. Kind of goes back to what we just talked about when you're creating your budget of the 50-30-20, right? 20% of your income should be going to savings. I get it. It's hard, but if you don't start looking at it now and start planning for the future, a big problem here too is this, right? Every time, or not every time, but most of the time when people get promotions or raises, what do? They try to increase their lifestyle, upgrade their lifestyle, versus just maintain your lifestyle where it is, and now take that extra windfall of money and dump it into your savings, dump it into your investment account, instead of trying to upgrade your lifestyle.
Yeah, and that's really hard to have that discipline too,
Mhm.
especially when you're trying to compare to everybody on social media. One of the things I often look at, and I will admit to this on the show, that I'll see a lot of people that I know are financially not in the best position going on vacations.
Mhm.
And it's a personal pet peeve of mine because I have the discipline and my wife has the discipline to say, you know what, we're not going to go on a vacation right now. We're going to be thoughtful. We're going to see where the economy goes. We're going to be patient. We're going to forego those opportunities. And I know people who are like all about, Chris, it's those life experiences. If you don't have those, then you're missing out. Yeah, that's all well and good. But then if I do have those and there's a financial catastrophe on the horizon, and then my life has to change dramatically for my son and my wife in the next year because I wasn't thinking about this and I wasn't deferring some of that short term, near term, pleasure, if you will,
Mhm.
then guess what? The experience they're going to endure for a lot longer is a lot worse than that vacation.
Right. There definitely needs to be some kind of balance, right? Like, for instance, my wife and I, we typically like to try and go on one vacation a year, right? But this year, we opted not to. And if we did, it's going to be maybe a short weekend getaway versus this huge extravagant thing, right? And we noticed, like, with our kids, they don't know the difference. As long as we're all together having a good time, to them, that's a vacation in and of itself. So I get it. I know it's hard to keep up with the Jones.
Well, I mean, it's hard to keep up with Haroon. He's been on PTO several times.
My
this
guy
month.
just came back from New York flexing.
I know.
He's like, bro, what's that? We went to, what's that, Magnolia? He's like, man, that place was weak.
Oh, wow. Did you guys charter the private jet, or did you guys go like private jet ride share? How'd you guys do that?
We put on your black card.
Ooh, had to do it.
I feel like that's a cheap shot, but it's obviously.
I feel like,
cheap shot.
honestly,
you're talking about guys taking vacations. You're literally talking about me.
No, I'm talking about people who take vacations in general. And look, I said social media. You're not even on social media.
That's true.
That point. Definitely not on our social media.
Well, yeah. You ever wondered, these guys got a great podcast, and it's amazing how narrow their social media presence is. I want you to know our marketing manager is also our show producer, and we're really proud of what Haroon brings to the show.
So
Fire that guy.
no, he's waiting for it. He's like, come on, guys.
I just don't want to explain to the unemployment folks when you call and file for unemployment that you were making nothing.
Exactly. So just to also piggyback on that low savings rate, the retirement savings across the nation. The median retirement savings account for Americans aged 55 to 64 is around, which is probably not enough to support through retirement. Is that missing something there?
Basically, Saeed's trying to say.
Oh, it's around. Sorry, I left it out. It's around $100,000. Okay.
You just left out $100,000.
Yeah, I remember reading the stat, but it looks like it didn't make it on the screen. It's
You
roughly
mean,
around
you
100.
didn't make it. It like just mysteriously vanished. You didn't put it on the screen.
Yeah, it vanished. That's what happened. So it's around $100,000, and that's probably not enough for them to support them in retirement, which is, meaning the retirement age is only going to get pushed back further and further and further. So unfortunately for those people, there may not be a lot of options for them right now. But if you're not in that camp, the one thing that we've routinely talked on the show, the clip that sent your boy viral, start early.
Once every show now.
Viral, 1.6 million. Have you ever got 1.6 million with your face on it?
It was on my channel.
Was it your face, though?
It was not my face.
Yeah. So just start early. The earlier you start, the better. And obviously, you won't have to put in as much every single month, right? And you'll guarantee yourself that 1 million. But I'm starting to feel like by the time we retire, 1 million is just not going to be enough.
So it's probably worthwhile to pause here and say that, look, high debt levels, low savings rate, and the rest of this list that we'll go through, it may sound like we're attacking the lower wage earners. That is a big misunderstanding. This problem affects every type of earner.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen super affluent people who have this outward luxurious lifestyle, absolutely living with high debt levels, absolutely living with a low savings rate or no savings rate. And from the outside world looking in, it looks like they're crushing it.
Yeah.
And there are more cases that I am shocked that people are actually crushing it than those who I'm going, wow, that's tight.
I know of so many people that when speaking about, make sure you save for your retirement account, use your company's 401k, make sure you're maximizing that employer match. They're asking, like, I should do the employer match thing, right? I'm like, what do you mean, bro? Like, you're leaving money on the table every month.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah, foregoing the extra 3%, 5%, whatever it is that your employer may match, 6% in some cases.
Yeah.
That you're worried about being withdrawn from your check. What are you really going to use that money for?
Right.
If you're living with high debt levels and you have a low savings rate and that incremental difference is going to change your lifestyle, then do that. Hold off on the 401k to improve your financial position now, but go right back to the 401k once your position is improved.
Yes.
So, that is free money you're leaving on it. You've got to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
If your employer has a 401k match, do it. And don't buy into the social media rhetoric of, ooh, they're just trapping you, bro. It's a trap. Don't fall for the trap.
Yeah, I don't understand why.
They're locking up your money. You can't access that till you're 65. You might be dead.
Yeah, what's the maximum that you can put away in your retirement account right now? It's like 20-some thousand, right?
A year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In your 401k, for instance, right? Okay, let's just say you do the minimum match.
Well, you can put more. There's just tax benefit.
The tax benefit, right? So you get capped at it, right? Or let's just say you do the company match, but you don't meet that threshold. That's okay, as long as you met that company match and you're getting the maximum amount you can also from your employer.
Highlights of changes for 2024, according to IRS.gov. The magic fingers of Haroon have been pumping away in the background. He pulled this up for us. Thank you, Haroon. Your fingers are mystical. Magical.
New Doug.
Sensational. Sensational. The contribution limits for employees who participate in 401k and 403b and most 457 plans, as well as the federal government's thrift savings plan, is increased to $23,000, up from $22,500. The limit on annual contributions to an IRA increased to $7,000, up from $6,500.
Right. Key distinction there, right? If you have a investment retirement account outside of your company, right? It has a different limit than your 401k account.
And again, one of the reasons why I like a 401k, if you can get into them, there's more money that can go into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, next up on this list, living paycheck to paycheck. Nearly 63% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck, making it difficult to save or invest for the future.
Now, obviously, this is what leads to high debt levels of credit card debt and a low savings rate. But certainly, this is one of the things that you see affecting wealthy people as much as you see affecting people who are just trying to make it.
Yeah.
And we as humans have this weird way of adjusting to the lifestyle that we can afford versus adjusting to a comfortable lifestyle that we should afford.
Mm.
And what happens more often than not is that little voice behind you that says, you know what? I deserve that. I deserve that car.
You know, I expect the little voice behind you to sound a little bit different.
I deserve that house. I'm just going to buy the house. I'm just going to buy the car. And then you look back a year later and you bought all the things.
Mm.
And all those things carry all the monthly payments.
And then what do you also come to find out that none of those, a lot of those things like don't bring you any extra happiness.
No, there's actual studies on that once you get past the basic necessities, worrying about food, worrying about making money every single month, worrying about, you putting a roof over your head, right? Once you get past the basic necessities, there isn't a whole lot more joy incrementally that gets above that from financial benefits, right?
Mm.
So like all the luxury goods, the trips, the travel, all that stuff, it brings you incrementally more. It's like the difference between taking like supplements with working out. You're gonna get some incremental benefits from supplements at maybe the top 2 or 3%. Well, after you cover your basic needs as a human and you're not worried about the finances, like deeply concerned about it, and you're just living like your life every single day, and you got a check coming in, the incremental joy you get is tantamount to supplementation. It's very, very small.
Right.
So people who are trying to live in the moment, they get those momentary hits of dopamine, that excitement, but it fades. It doesn't equal long-term happiness, and that's the disconnect. Buying the expensive shit that you might drive, that you might show off, or that you might have on your arm or your wrist, only brings you a temporary hit of dopamine, and then it ultimately fades. That's why people who love watches buy more watches.
Mm-hmm.
People who love cars typically buy more cars. How often does somebody who makes a bunch of money, who gets into something, goes, you know what? I'm good with just the one.
Yeah, exactly.
It's rare,
It is
right?
right. It's addicting, right? No different than like getting a tattoo. They say once you get one, you want another one.
I have one tattoo.
And you wanted another. You literally
Technically, it's 2 names.
Yeah, last week you told me you were thinking about another.
Oh, I'm getting another one.
Yeah.
I'm getting another one.
Exactly.
I've been putting it off.
I know when we keep harping on this budget, right? And there's no hard fast rule on how to make a budget. You got to find one that like works for you. And I know making one can kind of feel like a constraint. I remember like 6 months ago we found this study that as a majority of Americans just don't even look at their credit card bill, right? They don't even open it because they don't even want to know. It's like because they've been spending and it's part of a necessity because they're just using it to make ends meet. So it is what it is. They'll just make the minimum payment every month. But I know it feels like a constraint, but once you got it boiled down and you're in control, you're gonna feel so much better once you feel like you're in control of the entire situation and you're making progress.
Yeah, but feeling like you're in control is often misunderstood to mean that you have paid things off or you have gotten to the end goal.
Mm.
Being in control is not that. Being in control is knowing that you can make the next payment and pay down additional principal.
Exactly, right? Just executing on your plan, understanding that this isn't going to happen overnight, right? Unless you start in addition to your 9 to 5, you start a 5 to 9 or you do something else on the side as a side hustle to maybe, get a little bit of extra cash flow to where you can accelerate this process. But understanding that this is going to take some time, and if you attack it month over month over month, it'll feel better.
Yeah.
Right? And let's get into this last one before we dive into the show because it's already 23 minutes in. It's actually over 10 million American households don't have a bank account.
Yeah, I saw that in the notes. I was like, how does that actually work?
Yeah, right? So this number is actually down from before the pandemic because a lot of people were opening bank accounts just to get those stimulus checks.
Yeah.
Right? They wanted the stimmies.
Yeah.
Right? But so 4.5% of U.S. households don't have a checking or savings account.
So that I'm assuming check cashing places?
So yeah, people are going to a lot of check cashing places,
Wow.
a lot of they're actually asking for advances, and you're like,
or they
okay.
go to the originating check bank, like if you wrote a check off Wells Fargo, they go to Wells Fargo and ask for it to be cashed.
Right, exactly, and understanding like when you go to those check cashing places, and if you're one of those people that have had to go through that, they take a percentage of your check.
Yeah, big chunk.
A big chunk. I want to say, like, I remember back in the day when I was working at Wells Fargo in college, it was some places were like 8%.
Let me throw something out there for perspective. And I don't know if this is a strategy anybody deploys. They take 8%. That sounds like a lot, right? Is it? Is it really though?
I mean, there's a lot of so if you're banking with a bank, like one of the big box banks, okay, and you're able to save up enough money, and they have different banks have different promotions, right? But you should be able to. There are places out there where you can get a free checking account, a free savings account.
Okay.
So there's no bank fees.
Can we have a theoretical conversation?
Okay.
Just the three of us.
Nobody's listening.
This is not financial advice.
Okay.
Haroon, I would like you to weigh in on this.
Weigh in? You got it?
Not on a scale, just in
What?
thought. Okay?
Okay.
True story, I haven't gotten on a scale in a long time. I have no idea how much I weigh. Haroon, have you?
Why is that funny?
I don't know. He laughed. I laughed too. All right, let's just say it's 10%. Let's say a check cashing place charges you 10%.
Jesus.
If you're going to a check cashing place, right, you're not reporting your taxes. Are you? If you're in the state of California, to give you an idea, my tax rate is close to 33 to 40%, depending on. I'm W-2.
Yeah.
So towards the end of the year, like I'm close to 48, 47% tax rate. Like I'm getting taxed hard. Don't read into that. I'm paying taxes, Saied.
Up the flower.
Yes, Saied has a newfound obsession with the phrase flower and its reference.
Chris has to give me some flowers later in the show. Stay tuned.
I am not giving you a flower. You are giving me your flower with which I can.
Stop. Don't do it. Don't go there. Be the bigger man.
You went here on your own.
Yeah.
And I am the bigger man.
Back to the theoretical conversation.
Guys, we're in the Jeff segment. Come on.
Sorry, Jeff.
Yeah.
Jeff.
Yeah.
If you're an employee and you're not W-2, let's just say you're working some job that gives you checks, and you go to the Wells Fargo bank or whatever bank and you cash it there, and they take, okay, fine, they take the nothing, but then say you get a check from somebody else, you go to check cashing place, you pay 8%. I would imagine you're paying less than you would otherwise pay in taxes, assuming you're illegally not declaring for taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, you're probably getting more money in your pocket than you otherwise would have gotten.
Right, but you and I both know that establishing a banking relationship is vital to growing. This is part of the game.
No, I get it, and you got to play the game with the rules that are in place. I'm not saying that I would recommend that strategy. I'm trying to logically think through
like
why people would do it.
It's like a short-term win, but you're not thinking long-term, right? You got to establish.
You're not gonna buy a house because you're not paying taxes. You're not going to be able to validate your income.
You're not going to be able to validate your income. You're not going to eventually build some type of credit history with a bank, right? That's going to ultimately help your credit, right? That'll help you get an apartment someday, make it easier for you to get jobs, get a home someday. Maybe you want to start a business someday, and you're going to apply for a business loan, right? Like, so yeah, you're getting by not having to show and pay taxes for now, but like. That's just like hustling, like for no reason. Just do it the right way.
Look, Haroon pulled up a list here. What does it mean to be unbanked? And there are 6 things on this list, I believe, Haroon. Number 1, you have past financial behavior that puts you on a no account list. And there's probably something worthwhile to note here. You can be on an OFAC list, or you can be on a watch list. You can be on check systems for having bounced too many checks or having unpaid debt to banks, and it's exceedingly difficult to open up a bank account.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to the next one, Haroon.
I actually, from back in the day when I was as a teller back at Wells Fargo back in the day, I remember people doing this, like coming in trying to cash the checks.
Yeah, I do too.
And then you would always naturally be like, I'm trying to get a sale because, bosses are on me. I need to open X amount of checking accounts today. Like, hey, man, come on, why don't we set your account? It's all free, blah, 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 blah. And some of them will be point blank, like, no, like, the government will take money out of my account if I open up an account.
Well, reason number 2, you don't trust banks.
Yeah. It's not them. You get reported, and then you literally get the money taken out of your account. Or sometimes they even admitted to, what's it called, needing to pay either alimony or, yeah.
Yeah. Well, here, to your point, 33% of unbanked consumers in the FDIC's latest research says they don't trust banks. So that's all the crypto people.
Well, look, I mean, maybe we get into, for those that don't know what, FDIC insurance is, right?
Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation.
Right. You got to bank with a bank that is insured by the FDIC, which basically guarantees that up to $250,000 of the money at that one institution.
Per vesting of each account. So if it's vested under your name versus your trust name, that's 2 separate insurance policies.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You get, if anything were to happen, you will have access to at least $250,000 of your money. Right. That's guaranteed. Right. So if you are shopping for a bank, make sure that they are insured by the FDIC.
Little fun fact about the FDIC insurance fund while we're at it. A lot of people are like, oh my God, those banks are getting a bailout from the FDIC fund again. No, dude. That's not government money. That's not you. Okay. That's other banks who pay into the fund. So everybody's like, oh, my tax dollars are going for this shit again. No, your tax dollars actually are not. Other banks pay into that fund. And for fun fact, the FDIC fund is at or near all-time highs.
Yeah.
Because so many banks have been paying into it, and we haven't had failures which required that level of coverage.
Yeah, just think of it as like no different than any other insurance company, right? The customers of this insurance company are banks around the nation that are all paying into this thing, and in case anything were to happen, they got to tap into the insurance fund.
Number 3, you're worried about meeting minimum balance requirements. That's foolish. Don't be that guy.
Come on, sometimes it's $100.
About 40% of unbanked consumers say they don't have enough cash to meet that minimum balance. And I'll tell you that the banking world has changed a lot these days. There are plenty of student or retiree special accounts that require absolutely no minimum balance and no fee.
Yeah.
And Haroon, let's go to the next one there, if you don't mind. Number 4, you're aiming to avoid fees or taxes. Nearly 30% of unbanked consumers cite high bank fees as a reason for steering clear of bank accounts. Let's be clear here. I just did a Go Banking Rates that was syndicated on Yahoo article about this, where there are certain things that banks should give you for free. Access to all ATMs in the country, regardless of it being in their network or not.
Yeah,
no
that's
fee.
the most annoying thing, bro.
With no fee. That should be done.
That's just like, come on, man.
Search for a bank that does that. A lot of community banks do that. If you're Wells Fargo, Chase, B of A, they have enough ATMs all over the country for them not to be that concerned about it. But a lot of community regional banks will cover that fee. A lot of banks offer, like I referenced earlier, special accounts which have no minimum balances and no fees, no monthly balance fee. Most wires, unless it's a large wire or a traditional old school wire that you're sending from one account to another, can be handled online and for free.
It should be.
There's lots of little fees like that, and I can include the article in the show notes. Number 5, you're trying to avoid debt collectors. If you're in that position, that sucks. I get it. But not having a bank account is not a long-term solution. And number 6, you're young. My dad brought me into the bank when I was young to open up a banking account. A 2022 report by Thunes, 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 found that 62% of Gen Zers don't have a bank account.
They got crypto wallets, though.
In some cases. But how do you get your money into the crypto wallet if you don't have a bank account?
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
Good question.
Somebody pays you and then you just keep...
Does Venmo count as a bank account?
So that's an interesting question. There's a lot of fintech providers, Venmo, PayPal, Robinhood, that offer accounts, but that are not actual banks. Right?
Yeah.
And there's some variants in there that actually are banks in between, which is really interesting.
Like there's Venmo, I'm trying to think of like Apple Cash.
And let's be clear here. Well, Apple Cash is a bit of a different nuance there, but suffice it to say, if you don't see an FDIC logo, literally spelled FDIC as the logo, on the marketing material, you are not insured up to $250,000, like Saied pointed out. So therein lies kind of the quandary. If you don't have a fear of this institution failing, then you're okay. You're okay. You're all good.
Yeah. And look, and if you're listening to this show, right, you're looking at building long-term wealth, right?
Or you're laughing the entire time you listen to the show.
Yeah. You got to start by opening up a bank account, okay, and meeting those minimum requirements to make sure you didn't get charged any fees. That shouldn't be a concern of yours because you've already thought about your budget. You're planning your budget. You're putting away money for your savings account. Maybe you're banking at an institution which you're also using, their advisory side, which sometimes there's minimum requirements. I get it. Like I think Chase is like $3,000, right, to start, which might be a lot for someone to get started with like right away. But like other places may not be, and you can start. And as that continues to grow, that in and of itself will meet any requirement, and they're going to want to hold on to you forever, right? So, open yourself a bank account.
And if you are like Saied and want to hold on to me forever, I should introduce you to the show.
Let's do it.
This is the #1 financial literacy podcast in the world. That's right, the world. Sitting next to me, my partner in time, the one and only Saied Omar.
Thank you, my man. Sitting next to me on my left is my partner in crime, Chris Nahibi. Welcome back to the show, everybody.
And behind the ones and twos, our own personal Doc Emmett Brown, coming up with all sorts of solutions in the background.
Wow, look at you.
The one and only DJ Haroon.
Hello, everyone.
I you know what I miss? I miss the pew, 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 pew.
Well, one time.
I know.
You know what? Fuck it. Let's see what this button does.
No.
we got so many buttons back there.
So many buttons. So we have had an interesting pivot in the economy. And it's at this juncture in the show that it becomes very important that I caution everybody listening.
Uh-oh.
Because I know that you think that I'm the bad guy, that I'm the villain. And I put in a tremendous amount of effort to portray the character that you listen to and see if you watch the YouTube channel. That comes off, confident. That comes off with a little bit of bravado. This is a character I play. And I wholeheartedly welcome the characterization. It's fine.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, for you, the listener, we've lied to you. Saied is actually that person in reality. And when these events started to occur, the humility or lack thereof from Saied became very apparent. And it's going to become very difficult for him not to ask for, as he puts it, flowers during this show, because he wants the world to know that he called this and he's right. So just to get this out of the way.
This is what you're doing?
Just to get this out of the way, Saied.
This is how you're doing this?
You were right, but so was I. Okay?
Yeah. You were right adjacent. By the way, I want you to know, every time a listener emails me, right, and I always give them a very thorough, thought-out response, right, the sign-off is always, not the villain, Saied.
I don't know if that's true.
It's true.
But
it's true.
Well, unless you've been living under a rock, you know that the rhetoric as it relates to the potential for Fed rate cuts has changed dynamically in the last couple of days. And as we are talking, this is Tuesday, July 16th.
I think it should be noted, we've been deemed the doom and gloom, guys. So now look, there's optimism on the horizon that we also agree with. This is us now getting our confetti poppers ready.
I'm not sure that giving you flowers and confetti poppers is an appropriate reference.
Why?
There's a visual there. Okay. So from CNBC, Powell indicates the Fed won't wait until inflation is down to 2% before cutting rates. And if you've heard him speak before, that is a strong pivot. But one Saied Omar, the Nobel Prize-winning future economist, had pointed out many times that the Fed has made a pattern and practice of saying they were going to hit certain targets and never actually waiting to get there before they cut rates. Effectively, he said that Jerome Powell was lying to you.
Yeah, it's true. So what he's trying to do here is still try to use that same rhetoric. So just to give everyone a little back story here, right? A little background is Jerome Powell said that their target of inflation is to get it down to 2%, right? And that they were going to make sure that they hit that target. But they also went on to say is if they had enough confidence to cut rates, begin cutting rates, because they're not going to slash it down to, pre-pandemic levels, right? They're going to slowly start slashing it down. That if inflation was headed down on a trend towards 2% at a fast enough pace, or they had enough confidence that it was going to get there, that they would begin cutting rates. But you and I both know that hitting 2% is damn near impossible with everything just in shelter alone.
Yeah. 33% of inflation, 40% of core inflation are made up of shelter components. So unless there is a dip in home prices and rental rates, rent and rent equivalent, it is a near impossibility to get to the 2% inflation target.
Right. So the CPI report that came out recently, and we're not going to get too granular here because it might start flying over people's heads, right?
Wow, wait, what do you mean salty? See, that's the lack of humility coming out there.
That's no, people don't like it. They're like, come on, man, numbers again, don't do this. Just kind of tell me.
Wow.
That's what I get.
Haroon, I got to be honest, I'm offended for you, brother. He's talking to you. You're people.
I get it in my DMs all the time, right? I'm just
prove it.
Prove it? I'll show it. Yeah, I'll screenshot. I don't want to put them on blast like that. That's messed up.
That's convenient.
Yeah, that's convenient.
Yeah.
But basically, the inflation reading that came out on CPI, even though it's not the preferred measure of inflation in PCE that the Fed likes to look at. It's adjacent, right? It's one that they also like to look at, CPI. That came in very favorable, right? Giving them a little more confidence. It actually beat expectations, right? By a small amount, but right now, any good news is great news for the Fed. That's what they're looking for. In addition to that, the unemployment rate slightly ticked up higher than their expectations. Remember, we talked about this. I thought that they conveniently listed their unemployment target rate for the end of the year being 4%, and now it came in at 4.1%, meaning, it outpaced our expectations. And, we know one of their dual mandates is maximum employment. So if that continues to go up, giving them more of a reason to begin looking at cutting rates.
For the record, I don't think you being this chatty tonight is a coincidence. I think you're trying to cover up for the lack of humility. That's fine.
Oh, stop.
I understand. You're feeling very empowered and emboldened by what's happening. Let's get into it from CNBC, and then you can continue to claim your trophy, okay?
Let's do it.
Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said Monday that the central bank will not wait until inflation hits the 2% cut to cut interest rates. Speaking at the Economic Club of Washington, D.C., which I did not know was a thing, Powell referenced the idea that central bank policy works with, and I'm quoting here, long and variable lags. This to me sounds a whole lot like inflation is transitory, but he's saying it works with long and variable lags to explain why the Fed wouldn't wait for its target to be hit. Now, let's be honest here. If you're Jerome Powell and you were telling everybody just a couple of short months ago that we were going to wait till we got to 2% before we started cutting rates, why the fuck am I just now hearing about long and variable lags?
When that's something that we've routinely said on the show and that was a major risk, right?
Yeah.
Holding rates, quote, higher for longer, which is what the words that came out of his mouth. The risk associated with that is you can't hold it for too long because you mention it all the time. It's like a pendulum that swings, right? Then you hold it for too long. You can't just start cutting rates and then the economy just starts booming again. Yeah. If you hold it for too long, there's going to be long rippling effects.
And what I keep trying to tell people is you can't just cut rates and stop the economy on a dime. The pendulum is already swinging back the other way. If you cut rates, you're going to slow it down, but it's still going to keep swinging. You're not going to stop it. So that means whatever we're walking towards from a recessionary event to lower spending, we're walking towards it. And nothing they do from a rate cut perspective is going to stop the inevitable future. All they can do is slow it down at this pace and hope that it gets to 2% and then stops in and around that range and then starts to reel back up to a healthy number or stay stable. That being said, let's go to the next article here so Saied can continue to claim his honor here. I didn't want to go too far into this particular article. This is one from Bloomberg. Powell says the U.S. data offer confidence that inflation is on a path to 2%, says risks to employment inflation goals are now more balanced, and the latest 3 inflation readings add, quote, somewhat to confidence.
I'm declaring shenanigans.
Yes, I don't even get into the details here. I just wanted to touch on this one lightly.
I'll tell you why that's BS, though. Okay, so when they say they want to get inflation back down to 2%, it's not just the overall, one section of inflation, right? It's not just energy. It's not just food. It's not just shelter. It's not just services. It's not just, wage growth. It's all of it. All of it needs to be 2%. A little bit of backtracking here, backstory, why they need it to be 2%, because that is what they consider stable, right? It's you can predict what the future is, what's coming in the future, okay? So they want to get it down to 2%. Here's a problem with that. It's never going to hit 2%, at least anytime soon, okay? These rates would have to stay here higher for a very, very, very long time. Shelter in and of itself is at 5.2%, right? When we started this thing over a year ago with the higher rates, it was well above like 8-9%. We're just now getting to 5.2% year over year.
Yep.
In order for that to come down, home prices would have to come crashing down in order for it to get down to 2%. Right?
Yes.
And that's not happening anytime soon unless there's major layoffs and there's a flood of inventory online.
So we're already seeing a flood of inventory in the South, Texas and Florida in particular. You're already seeing the highest level of new home supply in history, even leading up to the great financial crisis. You're seeing bigger numbers than that.
Yeah.
So there are red flags that are ringing all over the place. We covered that in the last episode, which was appropriately titled Recession Red Flags. And this is the moment where I'm going to read a little bit. And as I read, for those of you watching the YouTube channel, you're going to see Saeed's face perk up, get very happy. He's going to have this aura of just confidence. And that's going to be the real Saeed coming out. That's the man.
See what you're doing?
That's not the character. That's the man.
I don't like what you're doing here.
Tell me this doesn't make you happy.
Stealing my thunder.
Okay. According to Yahoo Finance, markets are betting that there is a 100% chance the Fed cuts rates in September. For those of you who recall previous conversations, we often cite Bloomberg's World Interest Rate Probability as one indicator and the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. That the last time we checked was north of 70%. We're going to talk about that again briefly here. But that has changed dramatically.
It was at 70%. It went up to 80%. Now it's jumped to 100%.
Which has not happened this far out from a Fed meeting yet.
Yeah.
There's never been a 100% probability this far out from a Fed meeting.
Right.
That is very unique.
Of a rate cut.
Of a rate cut.
All right.
Yes.
But of a rate increase, it has. Not of a cut, though.
Yeah. Well, increases in my mind are much easier to predict.
Yeah.
Investors are confident the Federal Reserve will be lowering interest rates by the end of its September meeting. As of Tuesday morning, which is today, again, the 16th of July, markets were pricing in a 100% probability of an interest rate cut in September per the Chicago Mercantile Exchange Fed Watch tool, up from a 70% chance just a month ago. In 4 weeks, it went up here. And we're about, 6 weeks out from this meeting?
Yep.
The increased confidence comes after a better than expected June inflation reading, combined with signs of further cooling in the labor market. In sum, economists and investors alike have taken the data to mean that the Fed will begin cutting interest rates soon as inflation falls closer to the Fed's 2% target. Closer, but not to the Fed's 2% target.
Right. Exactly.
So, Saeed, allow me to be the first to say, I give you your flower.
Oh, thank you. My flowers. Give me all the flowers. Come on, man. You gotta get hip, bro. I mean, you're the one that's talking about the Riz.
There's a lot of people using the Kevin gave LeBron his flowers and all that kind of stuff. I'm not into that rhetoric.
Why?
I don't.
You gotta give them their flowers. I think it stems from you gotta give them their flowers while they're still around instead of giving them flowers on their deathbed.
I'd rather just give you props.
No.
Give you
Flowers
pounds?
is classier.
Daps and pounds.
Daps and pounds? That's
Yeah.
not good enough, bro. When you make a prediction like this, you made a prediction like this like 6 months ago.
Put some respect on your name.
You can tell the people. Tell
Put
them.
some respect on his name.
Put some respect on his name.
Although I don't know how much respect you get with suede shoes that don't have laces.
These are nice. My wife got these for my birthday.
Oh, happy birthday to you. Those are wonderful shoes. I like them a lot. Your wife doesn't listen to the show. Ever.
This is a great time to point out that Chris forgot my birthday.
Did I?
Did I?
I don't think I did.
Yes, you
Did I
did. Yes, you did.
Oh.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah. I know you're not one for birthdays.
When was it?
The 13th, bro.
This month? I fucked that up.
Literally a few days after yours. Fuck.
Yeah, literally.
I think I knew that.
So you're supposed to know that.
My bad. Happy birthday. Dude.
Yeah, thank you, bro. So, look, just because they're going to begin cutting in
That's
September.
awkward.
Yeah. Just because they're going to begin cutting in September does not mean that they're going to continue to slash month over month over month. I think what's still going to happen is they do absolutely cut rates in September, and they kind of wait and see what happens because the fear is also there's still a fear on the other side of this, right? That they begin cutting rates. They got assholes like you and I celebrating this thing, and all this optimism is now going to flood the markets, right? Watch what happens. I bet you the day after they cut rates, look what's going to happen to the market.
Well, I've got mixed emotions about this. You mean stock market?
Yes.
Okay. Stock market has already priced in 150 basis points of cuts. It's in the market. So for those of you going like, oh my God, the market's going to go amazing.
But what does that mean? They priced in 150
So
basis
you will
points.
have a blip in the market where the market's going to say optimism, great, rate cut, great.
Mhm.
After that first rate cut, the market's going to expect future rate cuts. And I don't think they're going to get it at the next meeting, right? You'll get one this year. You might get two. You're not going to get more than that, rate cuts.
Mhm.
And you're not likely to see a 50 basis point rate cut. You're likely to see a 25 basis point rate cut.
There's no need for them, right? If they were to do a 50 basis point rate cut, that would be there's fear of something collapsing, right? They're trying to save a certain industry or a certain sector, right?
Correct.
Right now they're trying to still give off the idea of we're gonna
We are slowing the cadence and trajectory of the economy so that we can get closer to the target but not run past it.
Yeah, but they're still gonna run out with the idea, and they're gonna try to pitch and sell everybody this idea of a soft landing still.
Yeah, I disagree, but we've heard that many times from me in the show.
I still predict the recession around the corner.
I think we're already in one. I think we've
Yeah.
been in one of the more prolongated recessions in modern history, frankly.
Yeah.
But let's go to the next article, Arun. I think there's some value here before we get on to kind of the behavioral piece of what the Fed's going to do next. This, according to Yahoo Finance vis-a-vis Bloomberg, Wall Street economists see compelling case for Fed cut now. And I've positioned this with an article immediately after this, which is the complete opposite of what this is saying. Because I want people to feel like, okay, Chris, Saied, we're confused. We hear all these things from one person, from another person, and there's just all these opinions out there. Like, it's confusing. So I picked two articles on purpose that had absolutely different conclusions, and we're going to break these down.
Okay.
So obviously, we've read a bunch of articles which seem to think that the common rhetoric is that there will be rate cuts. And according to this article's title, Wall Street economists see compelling case for a Fed to cut now. So we're going to read this. A growing number of Wall Street economists are cautioning the Federal Reserve is waiting too long to reverse course after raising interest rates to a 2-decade high. The reason why they waited too long is, as Saied has alluded to, you're going to run through that 2% target right into an inflation. There is no possibility of a soft landing if you believe that this is correct. Tame inflation data in each of the last 3 months, combined with slowing U.S. economic growth and a rising unemployment rate, are leading to calls for the central bank to cut rates at its upcoming policy meeting just 2 weeks from now. This, by the way, is not going to be the September meeting. So they're basically saying, hey, you can't wait till September. You got to cut now.
Yeah, because there's only one other meeting between now and September, and that's the end of July. I believe July 31st.
Correct, which is the one 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
Such a move seems highly unlikely. Fed Chair Jerome Powell, at an event Monday in Washington, said he wasn't going to give any guidance on timing for rate cuts. And most of his colleagues on the policy-setting Federal Open Market Committee still seem unconvinced of the need for urgency.
Yeah, that's the problem, right? That there's definitely a need for urgency, but unfortunately for them, none of the data that they're using to make this decision is showcasing that.
Well, let's talk about some of that data. But the risks of waiting are growing, according to a number of prominent voices, including Goldman Sachs chief economist John Hatzis, I can't say his name,
He hates us.
Queens College president Mohammed El-Rain, and Renaissance Macro Research Neil Dutta. We see a solid rationale for cutting as early as July 30 through 31st meeting, Hatzis said in a report published Monday. If the case for a cut is clear, why wait another 7 weeks, meaning the September meeting, before delivering it? So you've got, on one hand, a sense of urgency from several very prominent economists, people who really specialize in having this type of dialogue, that are very, very concerned that we've waited too long. And we're going to, and if you read between the lines here, they're saying there is a higher than not probability that we're going to enter a recession if we don't act sooner rather than later in starting this process.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this all boils down to, he and the rest of the FOMC members have come out the last several weeks and just talked about we need more confidence.
Yeah.
And then they got a CPI report and a jobs report recently, but they can't just say, oh, we got 2 positive reports. That gives us enough confidence. We're going to cut rates now, right? So they're sticking to their guns when really they should be looking at the data deeper, as they're doing over there at Goldman Sachs and Queens College. Yeah.
I'm an El-Rain, baby, Queens College.
Yeah.
He's from London now.
Yeah.
He likes it.
I thought he was like a
He's classy.
I thought he was like a TV anchor guy now.
Mohammed El-Rain?
Yeah.
No, he's
He's doing. I thought
Queens
he was
College.
just doing like guest spots. I didn't know he was like still. Is he teaching?
Oh no, he's teaching. Yeah, I think he's doing like a whole thing
Damn.
in London because he's sophisticated.
I mean, they're all sophisticated out there.
Arun, are you going to London on PTO next week too?
No.
Oh, that's shocking. Well, Shall we hear the case for the opposite scenario?
Yes.
Okay. Well, Haroon, if you could scroll down. Give me, as Saied would say, the goody good. Well, of course, there's always those who dissent in the room, and one such dissenter is the IMF and their chief economist. Well, I have a lot here, and I'm going to tell you right now, I cannot say this dude's name. So
You can't say his name.
yeah, it's Gorinchas.
Yep.
Gorinchas.
He's the chief economist over there at the IMF.
So no rush for the U.S. Fed to cut rates, IMF's chief economist says, this from Reuters. Cooling inflation data is allowing the Federal Reserve to begin a, quote, very reasonable, end quote, shift toward easing rates. But a still strong U.S. labor market means that there's no rush to make decisions. International Monetary Fund chief economist Pierre says.
Whatever he says.
Yeah, his name is complex.
I guess I would really want to know what he has to say about European Central Bank for already cutting rates then.
Ooh, that was not mentioned in the article. Good call. Look at you being savvy.
I'm plugged in, bro.
You are very plugged in today.
Yeah.
Is it just you miss me or what?
No, it's I'm back on the creatine.
Is that what it is?
Yep.
There is a in my mind, I'm just going to say this, a nootropic effect from creatine.
Really?
When you've been on creatine I've been on creatine probably consistently for like a year and a half, 2 years. And I only took a small break in between the several years that preceded that.
Yeah.
That break, I felt stupid.
Yeah. No, a lot of what's it called? The fogginess, the cloudy thoughts.
Yeah,
right?
real foggy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's real foggy on this side.
I'm on all the nootropics from TRANSCEND, which, by the way, is a show sponsor. If you listen this far in the show, you clearly like us, we clearly like you. You should go to transcendcompany.com/THSP. You should get your blood work done. Figure out if you need it, number one. If you're deficient in anything, they'll help you get back online. But if you're not deficient and you just want to improve weight loss, nootropics, they got you.
They got it.
I'm
all.
on SS31. I take it every single morning. It's like Mot C for energy. That's why we can record a show at 10:19 on a Tuesday night, and we can still sound like we're go.
Let's go. I mean, the monsters also help, but that helps
Caffeine
more.
does help. Yeah, well, I also sound smart.
Yeah.
That isn't coming from Monster. You know what I mean, dog?
Nah, I mean.
Yeah. So Pierre said in an interview accompanying the release of a new IMF growth forecast on Tuesday, it is better for the Fed to wait a bit longer to ensure that there are no further upside surprises in inflation like those in the first quarter that delayed expected rate cuts to later in this year. Okay, logical, perhaps. Maybe a little overly conservative. Shall we quote Pierre here?
Let's do it.
Given the good news on inflation, it's very natural that the Federal Reserve is now starting to look at what's happening in the labor market and wanting to make sure that they don't overdo it with tight monetary policy, Pierre said. They're in a position where they can afford to wait a little bit and then see how some of the additional reports come in. Be data dependent, as sometimes the central bankers like to say, and then adjust course based on that. Of course, I have some context here. The FOMC is widely expected to hold its benchmark rate steady in July for an 8th straight meeting, marking a year since it first reached the current 5.25 to 5.5% target rate of Fed funds. Investors are betting on at least 2 cuts before the end of 2024, which would be a September cut and a December cut, starting in September, according to futures market.
Okay, so I got a real problem with this guy.
I figured you would. Yeah.
I mean, for him to come out and say that it's natural for the Fed to start looking at what's happening in the labor market, I mean, hopefully they've been looking at what's going on in the labor market, okay? Based on the last jobs report that came out at the beginning of July, okay? Wage growth, which is a part of the jobs report, okay? I know that the Fed, they routinely cite the unemployment rate. That's what they're pulling out and what they're using in their summary of economic projections and what they're relaying to the markets on where their thought process is and what's going on. But wage growth has fallen to 3-year lows. Okay?
Yeah.
At a time when people are struggling. Why is wage growth dropping? Right? Companies are not as profitable as they once were. Right? Hiring has significantly slowed down. Right? We've talked about it on the last, I think, 2 episodes, where there's all these ghost, job openings and positions that are online that people aren't really hiring. We had a comment. I don't know if you saw this. Somebody was like, the CVS by my house has had this like now hiring sign up, and I know friends that have applied, and they do these group interviews, and nobody gets hired, and they just keep it up.
Maybe your friends are unhireable, bro.
Maybe your friends
Maybe your crew is the problem.
That's fucked up. But yeah, it's like they're putting on they're thinking that maybe they're receiving some kind of like tax benefit from it or whatever the case may be.
No, they just want to keep the jobs open, and if they find the right person, they hire them. But there's no urgency to it. I mean, there's lots of different ways they can play the job opening game.
Yeah, and you don't know what that's doing to the actual staff
Yep.
on hand right there. But I mean, you look at it, and if wage growth is slowed down to 3-year lows, that's a real problem for a lot of people, right? That are struggling. Clearly, we talked about on the top of the show some of these financial statistics that are shocking across the nation that people need it now more than ever.
Yeah, it's true. And yet here we are with the IMF doing what MFers do, and they're being contrarians. What?
That's so good. The IMF doing what MFers do.
IMFers.
IMFers.
What were you thinking?
Yeah. That's good. Well done. I
Yeah.
saw what you did there.
I'm out here.
If you're listening to the show, whether that's on Apple or Spotify, please head over and leave us an honest 5-star review. We really appreciate it. It means a lot to us. It does a lot for the show. If you're watching us over on YouTube, please make sure you subscribe, ring that notification bell, hit that like button. Let's get this video out to as many people as possible. I'm doing that like Notorious, B.I.G.
I can tell.
Yeah. Do all the moist, goody good stuff.
Don't be an IMFer.
Yeah. Nobody likes IMFers.
We are officially 1 hour in, kids. That means it is pop culture time. Haroon, hit me with that bag.
The segment that really grows the show.
Yeah. What inappropriate topic are we talking about
Let's
today?
go. Backbone, baby.
Oh, he went right for it.
He went right. We told
went
him not to do it.
Specifically said not to do
We
it.
have to.
All right. Well, in case you've been living under a rock, our former president, Donald Trump, was injured after shots were fired at a rally. One attendee was killed, and the shooter was also killed. There are so many things that are bizarre about this. But let me say one thing. This is not a political statement that I'm going to make, okay? This is just my personal impression of a human. The mental acuity to be in the moment like that, to tell your security team to stop, to raise your hand and say, and hold it out to say to them that I'm okay and I'm a resilient bastard and I'm okay. I don't know many people in that set of circumstances that would have heard shots fired, had something hit their ear, have blood on their face, that would be thinking like that in that moment. Yeah. That's incredible.
His PR team had a standing ovation for sure.
That's not even his PR. That's him.
That's him, though.
Oh, I know, but I'm just saying, like, his team, he's like, oh, fuck yeah, way to go.
In that photo with the American flag behind him.
I mean, it's just something. It's like
where he's got his fist up.
You literally can't script it.
I mean, that's
any better. Yeah.
In my mind,
thankfully he's okay.
The election has been sealed. Like, that's it.
Yeah. Thankfully he's okay. Obviously, like that. This is like, it's sad that like, wait, we're back at this point again. People like, come on now. Like, what are we doing? But
it's just crazy seeing some of the footages that have been coming out. People like telling officers like, "Yo, who's that guy up there?" And then like,
yeah, there's lots there that to unpack about how. So apparently,
I don't even want to go down that rabbit hole.
There's so many stories that I've heard and seen and read, and I am stunned that all of this even happened, and it's incredible, like the detail that's come out. There's for sure going to be changes in the way things are done.
Okay, so I'm gonna take a hard left here, but we're gonna talk still about election. I was listening to another podcast talk about this, and they brought up some interesting stats that I hadn't thought about in a while. So back in the day when Reagan was running for president, his age was a major topic of concern. Okay, he was running at the age of 69.
Yeah. Yeah.
Think about that and look at where these two guys are now.
Yeah.
Right?
I will say 69 back then was a lot older than 69 now.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Just watching old footage of him is just different. He was still sharp, right? And then I went down further in the rabbit hole where they were talking about Clinton. Dude, Clinton was president over 20 years ago.
Yeah.
He's younger than both these guys.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Think about that. That's so wild, man.
Yeah, Clinton was a young president.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it when they mentioned, like, damn, they're right.
You going back to his whole time in office and not questioning his testosterone levels? Justifying stuff that you shouldn't be justifying. Is that what you're doing?
I mean, he was
I
on.
want to be clear.
Was he on the moist sassafras?
Okay, let's go to the next topic before we get ourselves canceled here. Oh, yeah, I heard her singing.
What is this? I don't know about this.
So Ingrid Andress, national anthem performance at Home Run Derby, called one of the worst renditions. So she was
last
drunk.
night. Yeah.
She was drunk. She was like screaming, like, "And the Rockets, red, black." I mean, it was like that. I mean, I'm honestly probably doing it better than she was.
She is a. I'm assuming she's a singer. I don't know who she is.
Yeah,
I don't know who she is either.
Well, she today admitted that she was drinking. She's got a drinking problem, and she's
going to rehab.
She's in rehab now.
Who's asshole now?
It's not. Yeah, you're laughing at that.
Wait,
That's messed
you
up.
can't, bro. Hold on. Wait. It's a little bit of a cover up, bro. That's a little bit of a cover up, bro. Come on, wait. We're not gonna call a spade a spade. Like, okay, you're on. This is a real issue. I'm glad you're getting rehab. I'm glad you're getting some help.
Oh man, see, and the good news is that I prefaced the show with a warning about your ego.
Bro, wait a minute. You can't do this. Just accept responsibility, though. Don't just be like, I got a drinking issue now. Now everyone has to take it easy on me.
She did accept responsibility. She checked herself into rehab and then publicly announced it. That's accountability, dude.
I don't know, man. One of the worst renditions. I remember one Super Bowl, I think it was, where you know how in the Super Bowl they have all these like weird bets you can make.
Yeah.
And I want to say it was Christina Aguilera. And one of the bets you could make in Vegas at the time was the length of the national anthem, right? And so Christina Aguilera, known for dragging out some of her notes, right? So everybody took the over, and then she like left out a segment of the national anthem, and then she went under.
Had to bet on herself.
She was like, "Oh, I know what y'all doing."
Oh, there's a Gen Z article coming up.
So bad, Saied. If you want to watch it,
it's incredibly bad.
Yeah.
It looks like she was supposed to like lip sync, but like they forgot to push play, and she's like, "Oh fuck, I actually have to sing this."
Yeah, but also come on, man. Like, why are you drinking before the performance?
Who knows, man?
Don't do that, Chris. Come on, you're being.
I'll tell you right now,
you're not being genuine
for shit. If you tell me I'm going to the Home Run Derby, we're not talking about the All-Star game. We're talking about Home Run Derby.
What's home run? What do you mean? I don't understand.
They just hit balls.
So
that's it.
Okay.
I've been drinking too. This is what my career is reduced to,
bro. It's the beginning of the whole thing. You could drink right after. You'll be fine.
I mean, she was probably there in the staging area for a long time and was probably like,
I hope she gets help and I hope she gets better.
Yeah, that doesn't make anything you said better.
Face.
Yeah, you're not the world's greatest dad tonight, buddy. Okay.
Why? That's not me being a dad. That has nothing to do with me being a dad.
I'm just saying, not tonight, buddy. According to NBC News, Gen Z's biggest dating hurdle: they don't know how to flirt. Some Zoomers.
Oh, dude, you put pop culture on NBC News, bro. What's going on?
Come
on, man.
His news feed is docking and gooning. What did you expect?
And now flowering.
Flowering? That's not a thing, but we're going to make it a thing.
No one go on Urban Dictionary and Google that.
When you go to the bathroom, are you flowering?
Oh man, we took it there.
Can you dock in a flower?
Oh, we went off the rails. All right, so this is a real problem. This is because everyone's staying in, bro. Are you gonna? So here's the question. Remember we talked about it a couple episodes ago where I made Adam go talk to the girl at In-N-Out?
Yeah.
To get over like that any kind of fear that he may have, or
still not the world's greatest dad.
Still not the world's greatest dad. I get it. I mean, how much of this are you gonna try to emphasize? Are you gonna let Carter just figure it out? Like, or are you gonna be like, look, like you gotta like, because look, rejection is something that I feel like they should know about.
Okay,
we can't shelter them.
I'm gonna take a risk here, and I'm gonna personally say that I made the mistake of dating somebody who was younger than me at one point in time.
Who?
I don't know if they were officially Gen Z or not. I'd have to go back and do like the math in my head, but they were young, in their early 20s, mid 20s, and that was the first exposure I ever had to this being a thing. And I got to tell you, it is one of the most bizarre things. It almost has like this platonic, weird feel. And then because I went on a couple dates with this person and it didn't work out, whatever. Largely because of this, like you just don't. There's not like an interaction. There's no. It's so mechanical. It's such a weird thing
Yeah.
that now when I see it in other people, I see it, and it is a generational thing. Like there isn't like that. What's a good movie example? What's the one with Ryan Gosling where he's dating the guy's daughter inadvertently and
Crazy Stupid Love.
Crazy Stupid Love. Thank you, Haroon. I should have known you would have had that back pocket. Brilliant.
Saied had it. I just got beat
No,
into it.
why I was thinking about when you said dating. I was thinking about the one where he like switches body with Jeff Bateman, or what's his name? They switch bodies.
I don't know what that is.
Wrong actor.
Yeah, Jason Bateman.
Oh yeah, Ryan. It's not Ryan Gosling. That's Ryan Reynolds. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Anyway, there's not that whimsical like interaction conversationally that leads to something. It's not like that anymore. It's like you're either in like the swipe right, swipe left generation. Like I like you going in.
So glad you going in.
You seriously, like you're basically saying I would have sex with this person before you go on a date,
Which is wild.
which is a wild position.
I'm so glad we missed that.
And then you go on a date and you're just validating and you're trying not to screw up the image that they saw. And then the worst part about it is before they go on a date with you, what do? They go to all your social platforms and stalk your life.
And when they go on that date, I mean, I have friends that have told me about their experiences.
Yeah.
They're like, one foot's already out the door. The first thing that they don't like, all right, I'm out. I'm about to go back.
There's too many fish in the pond.
Yeah,
bro.
I'm gonna
you
go
got
back
too
to
much
I'm gonna go
access,
swimming.
too much data coming in.
Not
So-
just that, they don't know how to communicate or interact in person. I mean, I just got married 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I was dating these individuals. They're a completely different person via text, via phone calls, and then in person.
And I could never reconcile it when I was younger because I couldn't. When I was single and I was dating, like to me, it was the most bizarre thing in the world where you would have a conversation with somebody via text, but you would talk to them and be different.
Right.
And then like I'll never forget. There's one moment in particular. I tried to put my arm around a girl in a movie theater. Very iconic, right?
Yeah, that's nothing crazy. Yeah.
Nothing crazy. It was the most awkward. It was, and I remember getting out of the movie like thinking to myself like, if me putting my arm around you in a movie theater is awkward,
Yeah.
like that baseline, no.
Yeah.
Like, I'm out.
Yeah. There's too much there, right? I think it's more to it than just like the swipe left, swipe right culture. I mean, my wife and I, we have this conversation routinely at the house where like we always try to like, reflect and make sure that we're exhibiting the type of relationship that we want our kids to see. I'm just saying this. If we know divorce rates are going up higher and higher and higher, some of these kids are dealing with a high divorce rate, parents that have high divorce rates, right?
Yeah.
So maybe they have not been exposed to what a healthy, loving relationship is, so they don't know any better. You couple that with the technology that they're in. I mean, look,
All right, I'll give you that.
there's a lot of variables at play here and look, I didn't come from a family that had like the most loving relationship, like parents that had a loving relationship, right?
Mhm.
So this is definitely something learned and something that I had to work on to get right, because I didn't know any better, right?
All right.
So I'm not gonna put it all on that, but it's definitely, I mean, it plays a role.
No, okay, I'm good. I'm really excited to see this next one about Haroon. I saw the title up in the tabs, and I'm like, oh, what is this?
Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan sets live Netflix comedy event, his first special in 6 years. While Rogan has performed as a stand-up comedian for more than 30 years, he is, of course, best known for the Joe Rogan Experience, the #1 podcast on Spotify in the world.
Very, very, very interesting, because I've heard a lot of comedians are jumping ship off the Netflix train. They're starting to go Amazon Prime. Some are going Hulu.
Well, they're going where they can get a deal.
Yeah, well, I know Netflix isn't giving them the same deals that they once were.
Yeah.
I heard that when they were giving deals back in the day, the big knock on Netflix and them was they weren't providing them any of the data.
Yeah, they don't.
So they don't know how many streams they got.
Yeah.
They don't know how many people came back and watched it a second time, or if they've added it on their watch list to, because they were like getting ready to, so it's like,
Yeah,
you're just
but
getting paid this amount and that's it. Because they don't want you to be able to use that data to renegotiate your next deal.
Maybe, but they don't. First of all, Netflix doesn't release data like that to anybody.
Anybody. Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
It's not like it's just to the community. It's to nobody.
Right.
Even like the movie specials stuff like that. They don't really
Mhm.
talk about the data. But look, I get it. I'm excited to see it. What blows me away about Rogan is if you listen to his show, he tries to argue like he's like this caveman mentality, but you can hear a progression on his show where he's gotten so much more sophisticated because of all the exposure to the guests that he's been able to talk to.
Mhm.
And some of the wild just things that he knows just from his interests, which are obviously hunting and aliens and evolution and longevity and health. But then he talks to somebody about like wars and Genghis Khan, and he has all these facts that he's pulling out of his ass. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm sure he prepped for the show, but dude, he has just got such a breadth of knowledge. Like I really aspire to one day have that level of insight into so many different things. That's
Well,
so cool.
Yeah. So from my understanding, I think I heard him say this. He doesn't do a whole lot of prep.
Yeah, he doesn't. He wants it to be like a raw
He
conversation.
wants it to be a raw conversation.
Total
Yes.
opposite of you.
Yeah. I raw dog it all the time, bro. With
No,
you.
you did a great raw intro. Your intro today was fantastic. Arun, back me up on this.
Yes, it's because you stopped him from practicing.
Yeah, the
Come on, man.
non-scripted side
You
is
started
good.
practicing. You were writing your script in your head, and then like Chris
Yeah.
was like, "Shut the fuck up.
Just
go."
do you, bro.
Something
You doing you is better than me doing something else. Like it's good. Total backhanded comment.
Too easy. I mean, I've watched Rogan a couple times. I'm not a huge fan. It's more like,
His comedy?
yeah,
His comedy's more cerebral. That's why. You can't understand it. You're not sophisticated.
it's the acting like the animals and the loud noises that I'm like.
He's very over the top. But look, man, he's 30 years as
But
a
it's
comic.
very
You're doing
well
something
thought out stuff. Don't get me wrong. I just prefer some of his.
right. Oh, I
friends.
should have fucking known, Arun, you dirty bastard.
What?
The funny thing is you're getting this from Architectural Digest. That's the part that blows me away.
I had to Google it.
You're kidding me.
What
No,
is
it's
this?
been on my feed for the last like
Stop
3
it.
days.
You of all people cannot say what it. Okay, Anat Ambani is the son of India's wealthiest man.
What does the man do?
Multi-billionaire, right? Got
Yeah.
married. The wedding is estimated to have cost over $600 million. This has been a months-long wedding. Every celebrity and their mother showed up to this.
$600 million.
It's been months long. It's any wedding. He bought all of his groomsmen $200,000 custom Audemars Piguet's watches, right? I mean, Khloe Kardashian, Kim Kardashian showed up. Justin Bieber showed up.
Well, you didn't give me anything for being your groomsman.
I got to be honest with you. You weren't a groomsman.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, you weren't even invited to the wedding.
Oh, that's right.
I mean, it's what I deserve after forgetting you.
The people,
That's him, by the way. Hey,
Okay,
So-
that's fucked
Come
up.
on, bro.
that's not
Hey,
cool.
that's a.
That's not cool. That. Shame on you. Shame on you, Arun. We're classier than this, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Bro.
I think he looks to me like an Indian Russell.
Russell what?
I can't remember his last name. I'm blanking. Russell Brand. He looks like an Indian Russell Brand.
Why'd you say I thought Russell Peters? What are you talking about?
Russell Peters. Look, Indian.
Yeah.
Russell Peters is Indian.
Yeah, I know. So I'm saying, what are you doing?
Indian Russell Brand. Yeah.
Man, my guys. $600 million wedding, and that's the fit you went with?
No, this dude. It was a months long wedding. This is one of many.
Yeah.
big-
I understand Indian weddings are multiple days.
no, multiple months, bro.
It's multiple months?
He did this for months. They were celebrating the wedding.
Bro, they hired Justin Bieber a few weeks ago for a personal concert.
Rihanna did one of the parties.
Bro, $10 million. It
Yeah, Rihanna did one of the parties.
was a party for like 60 people.
Yeah. He had parties for months. They just got married finally after this months-long event. And at the wedding was like every major Indian actor.
Wow.
You had Priyanka Chopra, Jones was there, Katy Perry, Justin Bieber.
So are these guests being paid to come? Like,
No. The girl is an actress, and he is just a billionaire.
No, I think some of them were. Well, the performers were paid to come.
Amitabh
Like
Bachchan was there?
Rihanna was
Dang,
paid.
gangster.
Rihanna was paid. Bieber was paid.
Amir Khan was there.
Oh,
Shah Rukh
Bill
Khan was
Gates,
there.
Hillary Clinton, Trump.
Like, I skipped
Mark-
right over them. I went.
Oh yeah,
straight-
Mark Zuckerberg and his
I went-
wife went.
I went. Straight
That
for
was
the-
really cute. Did
the
you see that one?
Bollywood actors.
When Mark Zuckerberg and his wife went, they were dressed in like in proper Indian
Oh,
attire.
I love that. Yeah, you should.
cute.
For sure, you should.
Not everybody did. Like Justin Bieber didn't do that, but the Kardashians did.
Yeah.
But they slutted it up a little bit, which I thought was kind of
Bro,
inappropriate.
invitations cost upwards of $7,000 each.
Yeah, just the invitations. Yeah, security, private jets, you name it.
All right, how much is Okay, so here's a good question. How much is too much on a wedding?
600 million.
That's your baseline? Like, are you going to remember? You know how there's that website that I don't want to just put it on the girls, but I was introduced to it by a girl.
The knot.
The knots. Okay, this website is
Ridiculous.
it's dangerous, bro. Okay, so they got all these thresholds that you should meet for certain things, certain criteria, right? Wedding should be X, wedding ring should be X, right? Like, how much should it be a percentage or should it be like
Adam and I have had this conversation, and I'm going to put this solely on him.
Who's Adam?
Mind Pump.
His name's not Adam.
Mind Pump Adam.
Sexy Adam.
Mind Pump Sexy Adam.
Yeah.
I believe that there are lots of things that we think are common that really shouldn't be if you're just using your logical brain. There are enough diamonds in De Beers vaults to pave every road in the United States. They control the value of the underlying diamonds by controlling the flow into the markets. And if you've never seen De Beers vault, do yourself a favor, Google that. It is the biggest underground storage facility you could possibly imagine, and it's even bigger than that. It is massive. But they have an immense amount of diamonds in there. So much so if they release them to the market, the valuations would be nothing. And man-made diamonds now are indistinguishable from real diamonds except for the fact that man-made diamonds have an etching on the side.
I mean those lab-graded diamonds, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Made in a lab. Lab-grown diamonds are indistinguishable from a real diamond. Indistinguishable, except for the fact they have an imprint, micro imprint on the side of them, which says lab-grown.
Mm.
Other than that, you would not be able to tell the difference.
Right.
And yet, here we are still paying obscene amounts of money, myself included, for diamonds.
Yeah.
Right? And then weddings. Look, you want to celebrate two people getting together, all good. Why are people spending so much money on bringing people together for a night like this?
6 hours, bro. I mean, this one's multiple months in your case.
You should have a party for your friends that's intimate and nice and relatively cost effective, and spend the majority of your money on your vacation or a home.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It makes no logical sense.
Here's the problem, though. Here's the problem that some people tend to miss. Okay, I get it. We're in America now, right? But America's a huge melting pot. There's a lot of cultures here, and for some cultures, like this culture or even my culture, right? The wedding isn't really even for me. Mm-hmm. It's for my parents. It's something for the community, right?
I rebuke all that. I don't want any part of that.
I get it. I mean,
I'm not living my life for you, bro.
I understand, but it's I don't know. It's for a parent and for like I could speak for like my parents. I don't know, Odun, if you want to chime in at all. It's like for them, it's one of the few things that bring them like that they've really been hoping and waiting to see their whole life, and there's not a lot of other things that will bring them the same amount of joy that this would bring them.
To which I would say, you should be more happy the day my child is born.
Yeah, no, they would be happy. But here's the thing, right? Like, you're saying you should be, but like you can't force happiness onto somebody.
There's also differences between happinesses.
Okay, fine. But how about this? How about let's just take a very analytical mindset about this. And forgive me, this is going to be somewhat bold. The overwhelming majority of marriages wind up in divorce, right? Yes. I don't want you celebrating my marriage date. I want you celebrating my 10-year anniversary. I want you celebrating my 5-year anniversary.
I mean, that's cool. That'd be cool.
Yeah. I want you celebrating the milestones that prove. I've never been a person, like, don't celebrate my promotion. Celebrate my check. That's what we're doing this for. You know, if I get coverage in the media and I'm like amazing and everyone's like, oh my God, Chris, I saw the article. Congratulations. What are you congratulating me for?
What do you mean, man? Because there's something to be you should congratulate somebody.
No, but you do all these things for something. Why are you doing it? If my goal was to be famous, then okay, fine. But it's not. My goal is to get paid, bro. I'm trying to make them monies.
Yeah.
The monies.
I mean, I get that. But
why did you get married?
The thing is, because I love my wife.
Okay. What do you think proves that better? The day you got married or the fact that you're still married?
Okay, obviously, bro. That's not the point here. That's not the point that I was making, right?
That's the point that I'm making.
I know that is the point you're making. Look, and you're right. It should continue to be celebrated, right? And I say this all the time. Like, if you can, and if you can get the families to buy in, and You can get them to just give you the money so you can put that on a down payment on the house. Way better. I always tell like younger cousins, I'll say, dude, just get the money, put a down payment on the house, throw a fat ass party at your house, and boom, that's great.
Another thing I hate, Valentine's Day.
Oh yeah, Hallmark. Hate
Why
that shit.
are you celebrating your person once? You should be celebrating them every month.
Yeah, exactly. I've never liked Valentine's Day. That's weak.
Birthdays, not a big fan of birthdays, as you know.
Yeah.
First laugh of the night from Haroon back there.
Because you're just an A-class best friend.
Yeah.
I've always said I'm a terrible friend. I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, unless you want to talk about your flower anymore, I think we're done.
No, flowers, bro.
If you got two, there's a problem biologically. I have Crohn's disease.
Oh, do you got anything else? Whoa.
What is this?
That's the glow up. Look at the glow up.
I don't even know what this is. What am I looking at?
That's the same guy that got married, right?
2011, 2016.
Yeah, he's on that Ozempic.
No, this is not him now.
Oh, this is 2016.
No, but up there, that was him too.
That's him now.
Yeah, that was him.
Is he going to take over the kingdom?
Kingdom? What kind of fucking...
The empire?
Bro.
The family business? What kind of business is it? He's a billionaire. What does he do?
So an Indian man can't have a business, he has to have a kingdom?
He's got an empire.
He is not a billionaire. His father's a billionaire.
Yeah, but is he going to take over? That's what I want to know.
Yeah,
That's the story
I think
here.
His father's energy companies, right? I think his father's energy
The
companies.
youngest son, he graduated from Brown University.
Yeah, no, this guy, he
So
speaks English, you asshole.
He's better than you, bro.
Brown?
Brown's better than you. Yeah, come on.
In Ivy League school? J.D. Vance went to Yale. Suck it.
Bro, you went to SC. Hold on. Let's get, you didn't go to Yale for your 4-year. Let's scale it back.
Yeah.
Let's scale it back. You didn't go to
I
Yale.
spent 2 years there, so technically I didn't go anywhere for my 4 year. All right. Well, unless you want to be any more offensive to the Indian culture while we're here.
I haven't been offended. I actually can say Amitabh Bachchan. Can you?
What did you just call me?
Exactly. That's what I thought, my guy. Good night, everybody.
Which is a great indication of your arrogance. You see that?
See what you did there?
Goodbye, our friends. And I apologize for saying.
Cultural. We got culture.